Fortnite has been building up their Collision event, and to get everyone excited, they've been reintroducing us to their most important character to the story. But it's been so long since we've seen her, I fear that a lot of people don't actually remember who she is or quite frankly know much about her story. There have been a lot of YouTubers that have covered glimpses and peeks at who she is, but I don't believe that they've broken down the full story in the way I intend to do that for you folks today. My name is Clark Clint, welcome to the YouTube channel if you're new here, and if you'll allow me, let me tell you everything you need to know about the Paradigm. Before we begin this wild journey, it's important to know that everything I say is based off the idea that Paradigm and Singularity are the same person. If you don't know who they are, or you're wondering how I got to that conclusion, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll understand everything. It's my job to make you a Fortnite expert before this video ends. Let's take you back in time to Chapter 1, Season 8, the Unvaulting event. Here was the first time we were introduced to the 0 point and a mysterious helmet sitting on a desk. We would find out in the next season that that helmet would belong to a character by the name of Singularity, who was revealed to be the pilot of the mech. Now, remember what I said earlier, Singularity and Paradigm are actually the same person, but at this point in the story, we knew her as Singularity. Throughout the course of Fortnite Chapter 1 Season 9, the mech was built up as a defense mechanism for the monster that was plaguing the Fortnite island. When the mech was finally finished, the fight between it and the monster had began, but unfortunately, the mech was not enough. Singularity, in an act of desperation, had to take energy from the 0 point to defeat the monster, supercharging the mech and ultimately winning the battle. But this unfortunately came at a cost. Now in Fortnite Chapter 1 Season 10, this was the first time we had ever seen the effects of what the 0 point could do to the island. Everything around us was being warped, tilted towers turned into tilted town, there were different rift zones on the map because reality itself was being distorted due to the 0 point being unstable. Because the 0 point was destabilized, Singularity had to align herself with the 7 and they devised a plan to try to set things right. I believe this is the point in time where she started going by Paradigm. So from here further throughout the rest of this story, we'll be referring to Singularity as the Paradigm. In order to fix the distortions in reality and ultimately the 0 point, it had to be reset, but in order to do that, the 7 would have to do it from inside the loop and risk losing their memories. A rocket would have to be sent into the 0 point, which, when it happened, it created 5 snapshots, which were all used to guide the meteor that was on the island into the 0 point itself, collapsing it and causing it to reset. This, of course, would be known as the Black Hole event, and the result of this would be a new Fortnite island created. So that puts us in Fortnite Chapter 2. What involvement did Paradigm have in that chapter? Surprisingly, none. There was no mention or signs of her on the Fortnite map whatsoever. That entire chapter was devoted to establishing the Imagined Order, as well as getting to know other members of the 7 better. By the end of that chapter, we had literally flipped things on their head and put us into Chapter 3. With no mention or sign of the Paradigm. Or at least that's what you're led to believe. See, Fortnite has actually told Paradigm's story throughout audio logs and character interactions between Chapter 1 and Chapter 3. The majority of her story is actually revealed through one specific character, that being the scientist, and those audio logs go all the way back to Chapter 1. Now, you may be confused by that because we hadn't heard from the scientist in Chapter 1, right? Well, that's not entirely true. See, a lot of people thought the audio logs left for us in Chapter 1 Season 10 were from the Visitor, but they were actually from the scientist. Don't believe me? Listen to his voice.
What the 7 of us are attempting is very risky. I suspect they are not the only ones watching.
Paradigm, it's me. I'm guessing you heard what happened. Obviously, we had more ambitious goals than simply flipping the island.
Now, it's through these audio logs, as well as the other ones that were given to us in Chapter 3, that we can actually piece together Paradigm's full story. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where things get interesting. First, let me play the full audio log from the scientist in Chapter 1, Season 10.
What the 7 of us are attempting is very risky. I suspect they are not the only ones watching, but it must be done or we lose the bridge forever. I speculate that no one calculated the formation of the island, that interdimensional matter collisions would resolve rather than push. Now that I witnessed it firsthand, it's obvious that pinching alone made it inevitable. When I hear this again, will it help me remember? Or once looped, will I be just as muted as the others? No matter, it seems the lengthy precautions worked. The theorem was a success. You arrived outside the loop at the exact moment of expansion. This effectively paused the singularity, giving us time to create the devices needed to synchronize the junction. What I didn't factor was that the only way to trigger the device was from within the loop itself. Thus this hasty and primitive recording, and why now I find myself looped. Activate the beacon at precisely the moment this timer reaches nothing. The 0 point must be contained once more. If they are correct, it will be the end.
Okay, let's dissect this message. First, the scientist says,
I suspect they are not the only ones watching.
Referring to the imagined order. It appears that they were monitoring the island throughout the entirety of Chapter 1, they just hadn't gotten involved yet. The second thing I want to point out is the formation of the island.
I speculate that no one calculated the formation of the island.
What island could he be referring to other than the Chapter 2 island that was formed after the black hole was created? Finally, he mentions losing the bridge.
But it must be done, or we lose the bridge forever.
The bridge is what gives you direct access to the 0 point, which we know from the first Batman Fortnite crossover comic. The IO actually controlled the bridge for the entirety of Season 2. But what does that have to do with Paradigm? Let's go to the audio logs from Chapter 3, Seasons 1 and 2.
Look, I know our history is complicated, but I want you to know I never lost faith in you. Okay, I did, but only for 5 minutes, maybe a few weeks tops. It's hard to believe that someone who went through what you went through would hold the line.
That right there. Someone who went through what you went through. What is he talking about? I'll explain in a moment, but that's the key to understanding where Paradigm went in Chapter 2.
This is the scientist broadcasting on the 7 Secure channel. How's everybody doing out there? Paradigm has accessed her navigational accounts and appears to be preparing for a long journey. It is impossible to know her intentions, but I strongly suggest we prioritize all Paradigm-related engineering.
This was setting us up for the Paradigm piloting the mech in Chapter 3, but also hints at something bigger.
Paradigm, it's me again. This is my final message. Everything, and I mean everything, depends on you now. You've always been so much more than just our pilot.
And that's the final piece we needed. The Paradigm was the official pilot for the 7, which proves she was Singularity who piloted the mech, but more importantly, the rocket in Season 10. This event the scientist keeps alluding to, where he talks about what she's been through. That's what happened to her in Chapter 2 and why she was gone. But what exactly was it? To get the answer to that question, we need to talk to the Imagined in Chapter 3, Season 2.
So, obviously, I set up a personal relay with the Paradigm. The Origin is convinced she's a traitor because she broke out of a prison he had to be rescued from. He thinks she had inside help, but he has no proof.
The popular theory at the time, up until we got this Resistance quest, was that Paradigm was kicked out of the 7 due to her exposing the 0 point with the mech and using its abilities to kill the monster. But as we've learned and laid out so far in this video, that couldn't be further from the truth. So, it turns out that the Paradigm was imprisoned by the Imagined Order at the same place the Origin was. This is where she was for the first half of Chapter 2. Why do I say the first half? Because in Season 6, the Foundation asks Jonesy this.
I can get you to Geno.
And the sisters?
I can get you all of them. But I need your help to fix that.
Notice how he's not worried about Paradigm, which implies that she had already been kicked out of the group. Okay, so I just gave you a bunch of plot points, so why don't we put them all together so you can get a full picture of what Paradigm's story looks like. Chapter 1, she was a guardian of the bridge and the 0 point. This is when she was known as Singularity. When the island was put in danger, she and the 7 created the mech to defend it. And because she was the senior pilot of the 7, she was the one who piloted the mech. Unfortunately, the mech itself wasn't enough, so she used the power of the 0 point to defeat the monster. This left the 0 point and the bridge holding it exposed, which drew the attention of the Imagined Order. In order to reset it, someone had to do it from inside the loop. Paradigm, being the most experienced pilot and feeling guilty for causing the destabilization, volunteered to pilot the rocket and went directly through the black hole. She ended up stranded on the other side until the IO captured her and held her in the same prison as the Origin. She escaped, went back to the Seven, who thought she might have been sent as a spy from the IO. She was then exiled from the Seven with very limited contact, with the exception of the Scientist and the Imagined. And now she is on her way to make a return in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 2 to pilot the mech again and fight off the Imagined Order. And that's pretty much all there is to know about the Paradigm. Or is it? To wrap this video up, I have a few questions that I know will turn into theories later on. The first is, why was she the one guarding the 0 point in an alien ship? Did the Seven find her there, or was she assigned to guard it? If she was found in the ship, does she have a larger connection to the aliens or the last reality? Also, how did she escape the base? Is she just that powerful, or did the IO help her? Is it possible that Sloan in particular started controlling her mind and made Paradigm think that she escaped on her own? Maybe Paradigm isn't aware of what Dr. Sloan had done to her, and she actually is a spy, just unintentionally. At the time of this recording, the Season 2 event is only a few days away, and hopefully some of these questions will get answered. Make sure to stay tuned to the YouTube channel, where I will be streaming the event live with all of you guys, answering questions about your Fortnite theories, and talking about this crazy game that we love to play. Speaking of love, I love you guys. We just got monetized on the YouTube channel. I want to thank you all so much for your support. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to use creator code Clark_Clint in the item shop, #ad. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode of Fortnite Explained. I love y'all. Peace out.